Page 38, A Lullaby. With this piece, they're introducing you to the key of D-flat major. D-flat major has 5 flats. We already had the key with 5 sharps in it. Well, we get 5 flats. And remember, there's only 5 black keys available, and this uses all of them. So all the flats. They're in the same order. They're always in the same order. So as long as you know what the order, or you get. Actually, I do it by learning the scales. Go learn the scale of D-flat major. Now go ahead and do the arpeggio 1 octave up and down too. By knowing the scale, you know which keys are in the key, and then whenever you play the music, you just play in that key. You don't worry about is this flat or is this natural or what it is. It works very well. It's hard to explain. It gets you to understand. You actually have to just experience it. Just try it. So the only white keys using is the C and the F. And the rest, all these other keys here are flatted. Not here, it's here. All right. Oh, let's look this over. It's 2 lines long. Treble bass clef, D-flat major, 4/4 time signature. Let's take it one hand at a time. Make sure we got this working out. I have some fingering suggestions. Starting out with here, put you in this position. And when you're in this key, most of the time you're going to be up here because of all the black keys. So it's here. You can start out here if you want and then slide up as you go. You can do that. You don't have to start up here just because you're in here. You can come out here. And then out here. And then go on. Now you got to come up for the thumb. And for the last measure, the first line, I recommend, because we have this F up here coming, we prepare for that. So I want to use thumb on the first F. So it's here, thumb. It's like in the scale, you get that. That way you can just reach up for the F. Here. And then going on, the second line, you can, if you want, reach up and come down. Because it's the end of a phrase, you can lift up, you can. But I like to finger things legato if I can. So what I'm going to do is use thumb and then come down 5. And I'm back in position. So it's here. And then up here, thumb again. And they want 3. That's a stretch. No. You can use 2 or 1, either one. This is for the third major, second line. After the D flat, you can use 1 or 2, whichever. Just use 4th finger. And then here, 2. So I can connect all of this with the hands fairly well. It's a personal thing. The fingering that you use or whatever is a personal thing. I just don't like moving my hand around. I found in college that's what we had to do. We had to finger things legato, and it turned out that was really a good fingering style to use, so I've just stuck with it. For the left hand, we can't connect it. We got chords. But I'm going to recommend here, rather than 5/1, use 5/2. Here. I'm going to save the thumb for later. Now this works out well in this piece. Just use 5/2 on all of these D flat, A flats. And then a 3/2 for that one, for the G flat. And now at the end of the line, it's actually easier if you change the 2 to a 3. And that way 2 is available up here. See that last chord up there? We have to figure out what the notes are. Well, the bottom note is a D flat. It should be easy enough. You should know that note. And the top note, well, figure it out. 1 ledger line is C, 2 ledger lines is E, 3 is a G, so that's right above it, so that's an A, which is an A flat here. So it's here. It's the same notes. So I'm going to go 5/3 up here and then 2/1. I don't have to move as much. Here. You can do that if you want. I just don't want to move that much. So I'm going to 5 here. And then going on in the second line, then I'm back to the 5/2. Like I was at the beginning. And then a 3/1 there in second measure. Here. And then for the last 2 measures, what you can do if you want, is a 2/1. And then a 2/1 for that one. Just come up a little bit. And then you can do a 5/3 or a 2/4, whichever, and then come down for the last note. figure out fingering that works. Put the hands together, it's here. Here. Anyway, you put the hands together and then go back through and get rid of the hesitations. No hesitations. And you're going to have to look down at the keyboard for this to figure out what's going on, because you may not be used to all these black keys and so forth. That's okay. Eventually, you want to get to where you can play most of this without looking at the keyboard, though. Eventually. Then we add in the articulation, which would be the slurring, the phrasing. Lift up, lift up, lift up. I don't really like all that, but that's what they're doing. I mean, you could almost use 2 measure phrases. I could go there. Now. I mean, in that sense, I could use a 4 measure phrase. I could connect it all together. It's marked in single measure phrases, so we'll just stick with that. Lift up there. Left hand connected as best you can. Lift up. Lift up. Lift up. To put in the phrasing and the dynamics. P for piano at the beginning. That is soft. That's the melody. The left hand needs to be keep the left hand background. The whole thing is soft and gentle. Well, it's a lullaby, okay? Now, once you get to know it, you might get a little louder and softer if you feel it. At the end, the last 2 measures here, I tend to want to come down. So. Even slow down a little bit if you want. That's interpretation. You see at the beginning between the stabs it says dolce, means sweetly. That's interpretation. You think sweetly and hopefully you'll play it that way. I haven't had enough coffee for that yet, but we'll see about sweetly. I don't know. Speed on Dante is just a nice leisure stroll. It's not slow. It's just a nice gentle pace is fine. The fermata at the end of the first line and the second measure, the second line, hold that out as long as it feels right and then go on. It's like taking a breath and going on. Now they've added pedal here, and we kind of need pedal because we want the overtones. This is when we have a slower piece, it gives us time to hear the notes. It'd be nice to color them a little bit. We can do that with the overtones, and that's the pedal. I don't agree with their pedaling at all, but let's talk about it. I'm going to push the notes down first and then the pedal. And when I change the pedal, it's going to be after I play the notes, so the pedal overlaps what the hands are doing slightly. But I want to lift the pedal with the phrasing so I can hear the phrasing. Well, nothing complicated about that. Huh? So at the beginning, I push the notes down first, then the pedal. I change the pedal after I play the notes, so it overlaps. But now I'm going to lift it up so I can hear the phrase. Lift up. Now here, the last 2 measures of the first line, I want to change the pedal here. I don't want to lift up. I want to connect all of that, so I'm going to change the pedal. The idea with doing what they're doing is basically you're not pedaling the 8th note. That keeps it from getting blurry, but it goes by so quick. I don't care. It can get blurry. Here, and the lift up. That's basically the pedaling. The same thing in the second line, last 2 measures. I'm going to change pedal those measures, both. I'm going to connect all. So I changed the pedal in that a little bit. It's personal. You have to decide what you like, and you use the pedaling that gives you the sound that you're after. Pedaling in the book is suggestions. The pedaling I tell you are suggestions. If you have a teacher, do what they tell you to do while you study under them. And then it becomes a suggestion. So it's a personal thing. Listen carefully. be careful on the last measure here. When I play that, I want to hear that. Don't drown it out. This dies away. Get this very soft. Here, I still want to hear that note. And I tend to put a hold on the end. I don't know why you don't put a hold on the end when you put a hold on these other things. In my mind, I would put a hold on the end, the last measure. Put a hold on that last note and just let that sound die away for a bit and then lift up.